How you doing? It's Tuesday evening. It's 8 o'clock. I got confused with the time just briefly when we were off air. It is 8 o'clock on Tuesday, so there's only one thing that it is. It's time for the Tuesday Clinic. Hello, good evening. My name's Richard. Welcome back to my channel over and over again, the Arsenal podcast. This is the Tuesday Clinic. We had a week off last week. I was away, and so we're back this week though with lots and lots to talk about. Obviously, it's been a pretty good week for Arsenal actually, for a change. So you know, we still need some sort of therapy, but maybe therapy just to keep our expectations in check and stop getting too carried away from the fact that once again we have absolutely hammered Spurs at the weekend, and it was great to see. I have got, of course, the usual panel are joining me tonight. We've got a lot to discuss. We're going to obviously look back on the Spurs game. We are going to look at, you know, suddenly Daniel Ek appeared, didn't he, from out of nowhere on Sunday, which was great. So it looks like there could be a little bit more legs in that takeover. So we'll talk about that. I want to talk about the atmosphere in the stadium as well, home and away. It seems to have really improved this season with the fans back in the ground, which is really positive as well. We are going to look back as well to a season that we'll all remember maybe with a little bit of disappointment that it didn't go a little bit better. That was 2007-2008, where we perhaps could have won the league. And we do have a game, of course, this weekend as well against Brighton away. Tough game that's going to be because they're going well. We'll look ahead to that as well. So loads and loads coming up. So stay tuned and I will get the panel in the other side of this. So there we go. Good stuff. It wasn't 1-0 to the Arsenal, actually. It was 3-1, so that was nice. It's been 1-0 for a few weeks, but finally we found our feet and found some goals. Anyway, welcome, obviously, along to the panel for tonight. I've actually got you in the wrong order for some reason. I don't know why. Melvin's usually in Adam's place. It doesn't matter. I don't know if I can. I don't know how to change him around now. Oh, there you go. I managed to do it. Oh, we're back. It was confusing me there, put in the wrong positions. It wasn't right. But we're back where we need to be. So obviously, Melvin's back again. Are you feeling still happy from Sunday, Melvyn, or is it worn off a bit yet?
No, I'm feeling warm both inside and out. After that,
that's what I like to hear. Good. It is only Tuesday after all. I'm sure it'll fade slowly as the week goes on, perhaps. And Adam as well. How are you feeling today? You're still buzzing from the weekend?
Yeah, I think as I said to you off air, I've just about got my voice back from Sunday. So Sunday night, Monday morning, it was pretty non-existent. But yeah, I've still got that nice warm buzz. Long may that continue.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we all want, isn't it? We all want to be feeling like this every single week if we can. And Dawsey as well, back again on the show. Are you still buzzing as well?
Yeah, of course, mate. Yeah, a great performance. We'll go into it in a bit more detail. But yeah, it was a good feeling. First half performance. It was two different performances, wasn't it? First and second half.
Yeah.
But yeah, it leaves a good feeling, doesn't it? A good taste in your mouth after the start of the season we've had. So yeah, very nice.
Yeah, it is very nice, and it's good to finally have a week that we've experienced actually, because it's been a tough time being an Arsenal fan. Actually, I know no one feels sorry for us, and they probably feel we deserve it. But it's been a tough time for a while actually, and it's good to finally, you know, have something to enjoy. You know, we've done a few shows where we've maybe been had a lot to moan about and criticise, and hopefully tonight it will be a lot more of a positive vibe, because that's the way where we are at the minute. You know, people say, you know, fans are reactionary, and of course we are. You react to how the team's doing, and if the team's doing well, we're happy and we're not moaning about anything. And if the team's doing badly, then we're going to look at the reasons why. So that's just the way it is. But obviously, there's only one place that we can start tonight's show. Of course, what's made us all feel so happy today, and probably so far this week as well, we have to look back on what was a sensational performance on Sunday. So yeah, as that little banner said there, North London is red. I mean, we know it's red. It was never ever going to be any other colour because it hasn't been for all of our lifetimes pretty much. So there was never any doubt about it. I mean, I think the only doubt maybe was I don't think any of us would have been expecting that first half that we experienced there, and it was 50-50 out of the fact that we played so well and Tottenham were really poor, and probably the reason that we played so well made them play poorly because they couldn't deal with it. I really want to start on perhaps the team lineup because this was the first time that Mikel Arteta has had a fully fit squad, which is the first time I can remember us having a fully fit squad, actually, probably ever. And he went with the 11 that he selected. So that suggests to me that is what he considers to be his strongest 11. Now, we've criticised him, haven't we, before, about him not knowing what his strongest 11 was, who he wanted to play in certain positions, what system he liked. To me, now, I think we know 100% that this is the team that he's going to prefer. And this was a system that he would prefer to play. And obviously it did work in this game to perfection. So, I mean, Melvyn, what have you made of that? Obviously there was, certainly one controversial inclusion in the lineup, shall we say, but it does say, I know he's injured now anyway, actually, but it does seem as though that was Arteta's, in his mind, his strongest 11.
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of Xhaka. And when I saw his name, I thought, oh no. But then I thought, look at the rest of the players we're playing. They're so attack-minded. We do need someone just to sit back for a bit. And he did his job very, very well. So, if the rest of the team are going to play like that, we can afford him, if you like, because he's good at doing what he did on Sunday. And if he just sticks to that, we will be fine. And we can not carry him, but we can afford to have him in the team. So, yeah, I thought the team selection was spot on. And it just, from the kickoff, it just looked, wow. They looked like they played together before, There was so much continuity. There was everyone facing the right way, getting the ball on the run, and very few back passes like we used to do, which is all about confidence, isn't it? You could tell they had so much confidence for some reason from the kickoff. They weren't hesitating, they're just getting it, going forward and moving off the ball. Once you give and go, the other team, whoever you're playing, has got a problem. And it was fantastic to see. So that new signing we had, I thought was brilliant. What's his name? Aubameyang. I never seen a centre forward like that. Where did he come from?
Yeah, no, he certainly looked like a new signing, didn't he? Or maybe a re-signing of an old player that used to be good and maybe wasn't so good.
He was terrific. I got to tell you, that was terrific. I've never seen the geezer win so many headers. Never ever seen him in so many heads. He was chasing. I know he's had a little bit of chasing, but he was on it the whole 90 minutes. He was fantastic. And no, I've criticised him as most of us have, but I've got to say, different player. And if that is him turning the corner, not just because he scores a goal, because a lot of the times we said, oh look, he scored a goal, he might be, this is him now. No, this was different. This performance from him was totally different what we've seen for 12 months. And this is the test now. This could be the one for him to turn the corner.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I thought Aubameyang had a brilliant game on Sunday, and it was a throwback to maybe when we first signed him, wasn't it? Because that's how he used to play at the beginning. And for some reason, for the last year or so, it's not happened for him. I know he's had a few issues off the pitch, and hopefully now they're behind him. And certainly, I don't think it was just Sunday. I think this has been coming, actually, a performance like that. I thought he actually played pretty well the week before against Burnley. He never got any service whatsoever in that game. But I thought he worked hard, and then he was rewarded on Sunday for that work with a goal and an all-round really good performance. So that's great to see. And, yeah, it does feel like a new signing. It felt like a new signing, didn't it? Because of how lethargic he's looked for quite a long time, whereas now he seems to have put that behind him, hopefully, and we can see. I mean, to be fair, if you include the hat-trick at West Brom, he's one of the highest scorers in the league so far this season of all the players, isn't he? So, he's got 5 goals, which is a decent return after, 5 or 6 games that he's played. So, he does seem to be getting back towards his best, and that's going to be good for everybody, really. I mean, Adam, what was your kind of thoughts then? Obviously, bearing in mind it was a fully fit squad with the 11 that he picked. Was you surprised by any of it, or was that the team you was pretty much expecting him to pick in the circumstances?
I mean, I was surprised and I wasn't, because I'm always a believer of why change a winning team. So I was thinking that, we've won 2 games in a row. I thought we performed well against Burnley. And I thought he might stick with that same team, bring Xhaka back on the bench. But I wasn't shocked that Xhaka come in, do you know what I mean? Because it was a North London derby, because, he was wary of the forward players they had. So one part of me thought, well, why change it? But then when you look at it, in the light of day, you think actually it makes perfect sense. You need that extra support because then that allows you to break more freely. And it worked to a T. I mean, you could tell from the lineup straight away that the back four at times were going into a back three, where Thierry was playing like more of a kind of left wing back role, and that worked really well because I love watching how the team sets up. Like I'm a bit sad. I don't always follow the ball. I'll follow the players and where they're going in position. I'm a bit of a geek like that, and I was loving it. I kept saying to my dad, "Look at him," and he's like, "I'm watching the ball." It's like, but then like the guy who sits next to me was getting it as well, and it's so true because like the back four suddenly becomes a back three when we attack.
Yeah,
They all shift over, and Xhaka kind of move and Partey kind of hold back, and it works really well then because you've got the attack-minded players going forward, feeding off each other, and you're still leaving yourself secure at the back. I really liked it. I thought that we started off on the right foot, and like Melvyn just touched on, confidence is massive in football. I mean, like I've never really doubted the ability in the team or the squad. It's been a real kind of confidence and desire. Desire's been massive for me. Last season, I didn't think the players had the desire. They didn't seem to want to be there half the time. But something's clicked in the last 2-3 weeks. They seem to have got that back. They seem to have kind of got the, we're playing for Arsenal now. Like, transfer windows have done. It's shut. Let's get our heads down and make it work. And that was what was good to see. The crowd definitely helped because the players were bang up for it from that first kickoff. And I think Aubameyang like chased that ball down in the first couple of minutes. And when he'd done that, I thought, this looks good. This looked really good. So yeah, I was quite happy with that lineup. And I'm saying we can keep them fit. Xhaka's not fit now, but if we can kind of keep the same kind of formation and maybe get Stanby in, I don't know, but yeah, I quite like the way it looked. I felt the formation as well freed up both Partey and Odegaard a bit more as well, because Partey could be that much more of an anchor man, but still have the support of Xhaka next to him, whereas the week before he was kind of on his own. So that allowed Partey for me to get in that game more and do more forward passing and do that more box to box. And also Odegaard for me, like he was non-stop talking on that pitch. Like for a 22-year-old, like people were looking for him for what he was saying. He was a natural leader, I thought. And he made a couple of stray passes. He missed a couple of balls closing down. But I thought overall he was probably one of the best games I've seen him play, purely because like he had that freedom in front of him. Like Xhaka and Partey were behind. And it created that space between the Spurs, backline and their midfield. Spurs midfield was all over the place, to be fair. And he had so much time in the middle of it. But I felt that he grew in that game, Odegaard. Like, he just took the game by the scruff of the neck and, played it through. So, yeah, I mean, like, we can keep that same formation, that same confidence, desire. I'm well happy.
I mean, on Odegaard, actually, I mean, the week before at Burnley, we played a slightly different midfield system, and he was maybe slightly deeper in a role that he played at Burnley, and he was also really good there as well. So it just shows he actually is pretty versatile. He can play a little bit further up the pitch. He can do more of a, sit deeper as well, and he can still be effective. And I think it just shows what a great player he is going to be actually for us. And I think that versatility is important. But yeah, I mean, that system seems to be the system that suits the players that we've got maybe better than some of the other systems that we've previously tried. I do like the fact that you said that we can move to three at the back because Tomiyasu can tuck in as a third centre back and Kieran Tierney can push up the field a little bit more, gives us a little bit more width on the left-hand side. I do feel maybe it slightly imbalances us on the right-hand side, although Saka more than made up for that with his performance, didn't he, on Sunday? But yeah, it's the versatility in the team looking good. I mean, Dawsey, what did you make of the sort of lineup? I say, do you think that, obviously with everybody fit, I know Xhaka isn't fit now, but with everybody fit, do you think that would be the team he's going to pretty much stick with now as much as he can?
I think so, yeah. I wasn't surprised by anybody that started that game. I think for me, even towards the back end of last season when Xhaka and Partey was playing, I got glimpses of them to being able to start building some kind of partnership. I saw glimpses of it. So, listen, Arteta obviously clearly likes Xhaka. Whenever he's fit, he plays. So, if anybody's surprised by Xhaka starting a game, then I can't see why. But I thought Xhaka was brilliant. Like the boys have said previously, I thought he was absolutely superb. He'd freed up other players to go and do their jobs. The guy at right back, Tomiyasu. I mean, what a start to his Arsenal career that guy's had. I mean, I can't think of a bigger upgrade. I mean, I love Bellerin. more as a person than maybe his ability on a football pitch and kind of what Arsenal meant to him, because he was a proper gooner as much as a foreign player could be. But Tomiyasu, what an upgrade he's been in terms of technical ability. He's got absolutely everything. Again, I didn't see him lose a header again in that game. I don't recall him losing one aerial duel. But just touching on Aubameyang quickly, I've kind of been thinking of this the last couple of weeks, but maybe he's just someone that needs a crowd. You know, he's been poor over the last couple of years when we've been in lockdowns. There's been a lack of fans. There's obviously not had any support in the stadium. Can't be a coincidence that as soon as we start getting fans back in the stadium, that he starts to he's building up his performances. I hope I'm right, because if that's the case, then hopefully we're in for another 15. Well, hopefully 20 goals a season from him. But he looked very sharp. He looked determined. He looked, dare I say it, he looked a captain. Dare I say it? Maybe I'm pushing it a little bit too far in that sense, because I still don't think it sits right with me, him having the armband. But he certainly led a bit more by example than maybe he has done over the last 12 months. But no, in terms of the starting lineup, I wasn't surprised he kept Ramsdale in. He'd done absolutely nothing to warrant being dropped. I thought again he was superb. The back four actually for me look like they're really starting to gel. They really look like they've kind of, the first impressions of a back four that is it's a brand new back four. You know, these guys have only played a handful of games together, but had you watched that, you probably wouldn't have said that. You'd have maybe looked to say they've been together for a year, maybe a couple of years. But no surprises by the starting lineup for me. And yeah, everybody was bang on it. It was brilliant to see.
No, it was. I mean, if you as an Arsenal fan, if you can't have enjoyed certainly that first half in particular, if you can't enjoy that, then you might as well not bother ever watching football again, because it had everything that we could have dreamt about. You know, it's not very often in the last 18 months or so that I've enjoyed an Arsenal performance like that. That first half in particular, it was just an absolute joy to watch. And I know it's just 45 minutes of football, but that's something we can really build on. My only concern is the strength in depth of the squad. You know, that first 11 is a decent first 11, and I think we can all appreciate that it is. And if that first 11 could play most games in the Premier League, we'd have a chance of finishing or challenging in the top 4, top 6, without a shadow of a doubt. My concern is if we get 2 or 3 injuries, we've already got one now, long-term, or quite a long-term for Xhaka, who's an important player. If we were to get 1 or 2 others, to maybe 1 or 2 of the defenders, Gabriel, for example, we know how much we missed him when he was injured. It concerns me that the players that are going to have to come in aren't up to the same level. And unfortunately, that could be a problem. Luckily, we don't have as many games this season, which may help on that side of it. But in terms of the Premier League, where we're going to finish or where we might finish, for me, the key is going to be keeping these players fit, because they're all fit at the minute, minus obviously Xhaka. And I think we just need to make sure that we try and keep them as fit as we can, because I don't think the depth in certain areas of the pitch is going to be enough if we have to play 5, 6, 7, 10 games without certain players, especially in defence. You know, like you said, Tomiyasu has been brilliant, but if he gets injured, God forbid, for any length of time, we're going to struggle in that position. If Gabriel, I say again, gets injured, we're going to struggle there. Thomas Partey, we know how his injury record's been. You know, we haven't got now with Xhaka out as well. That would be the last thing we need, isn't it, for Partey to get injured? You know, just as we're building a bit of momentum. So that is a little concern for me slightly. I don't want to be too negative about it, but it does concern me that if we do get 2 or 3 injuries at the same time, which historically shows that it does happen with Arsenal, that would worry me how we would cope with that. And, you know, would we end up going back to the sort of, because we need to build on this momentum that we've built up. As what Shane in the chat there says, brilliant game, just lifted the mood of the team, the fans, everyone who loves Arsenal. Hopefully it snowballs and gets us back to where we should be. Exactly. And it is about building on that momentum now, isn't it, that we've built up the last 3 Premier League games. We beat Wimbledon as well in the Carabao Cup, which, you'd have expected us to have won that game. And suddenly things are looking a lot brighter, which is great to see, because let's say we've suffered quite a lot in the last couple of years, or probably more than that, if we're totally honest. So it's good to finally have some positivity. Now, something else that maybe could end up becoming quite positive, or something else that we spotted at the weekend at the game, which was this dude. So it's good to have friends in high places, isn't it? So obviously Daniel Ek there sitting with Thierry Henry in the game on Sunday, and Thierry coming out obviously and saying about the takeover's not dead, and that Daniel Ek's in it for the long haul and he's prepared to bide his time. I mean, all this kind of takeover talk it's died down a lot, hasn't it, over the last few weeks with the transfer window, and we spent a lot of money. We've seen the result of that on Sunday. I mean, what are the thoughts on the takeover now? I mean, Melvyn, did you think that this, obviously it seems like it isn't dead. Are you still kind of thinking that should be a priority that we, as a club, we should be trying to push for? Or do you think at the moment with the way things are going that maybe we should leave things, don't disrupt things too much yet?
Number one, I don't believe he is, not because of him. He's got good intentions, don't get me wrong, but it ain't up to him. That's the bigger thing. Not to him at all. We must remember that. Whatever Henry says or whatever he says, however much money he's got, it's not up to him. That's number one. Number two, I'm not the greatest lover of our owner for obvious reasons, but he's put his money in his pocket. You know what I mean? He hasn't let us down on that respect.
No.
He's kept the manager, which might be more luck than judgment, and it could be that we've turned the corner. So I think it would be wrong for the Arsenal supporters to put any pressure on Arsenal. Let's go for the ride now, shall we? We've paid our dues the last few years. We've taken the rubbish. Let's go for it. Let's let things settle and see how they play out. We can afford to have this owner, not that it's up to us, the next through 3-4 seasons. Manager is different. I don't mean Arteta generally. I mean, as a football club, you can't afford to have a manager for 4 years that doesn't perform. But for an owner who actually gives the money, we can afford to carry it on the way we are. So I'm quite happy at the moment to have the owner. I'm sure he's very happy that I'm happy for him. But I'm happy for him to continue. I don't want any distractions. We've just, we only got league games now. We've got a couple of cup matches with the FA Cup and League Cup. Let's just go for the football, enjoy everything. Don't make any. The worst thing is not knowing, isn't it? Once you get that, then everything goes a bit wonky. Let's just play our football. Let Arteta pick the team that he wants, which we think he might know for once now, hopefully, and let's just go for it. I mean, listen. At the moment, I think everything's great. You know, I'm sure things may not turn out as great, but it just players at the moment. We seem to have the spirit. And just one thing I got to add to. I know it's not to do with the owner, but I was thinking on Sunday after the game, on that pitch, we actually had about 5 or 6 leaders, not necessarily captains. We had 5 or 6 players. You go, you know what? They could be our captain. He could be our captain. From the goalkeeper to all the defence, for Partey, Aubameyang, all right, we don't rank that, but he is the captain. There's 5 or 6 guys there that you could say, you know what? I wouldn't mind him as captain now. So that's a bit different to where we were. So there's been a sea change for the Arsenal the last few weeks. Don't know why, how, or when, but I'm very happy it's happened.
Yeah. I mean, I just felt it was a little bit of strange time with all this coming back out again. Yes, I know he was at the game on Sunday, Daniel Ek was, and obviously I say sitting next to his mate as well. But it just seemed a little bit strange timing to me. You know, the transfer window's over and done with, and as you said, Melvyn, the owners have backed the club, they've backed the manager. I know initially we wasn't necessarily overly enthusiastic about all the players that were brought in. We didn't feel as though maybe they were going to solve the problems, but the early signs are that maybe they will. So I think at the moment, I mean, what are you making of that, Adam? Did you think that you're coming out again now at this particular time when we just seem to have turned the corner? Is this the right time to be talking about a takeover now, or should this be, should Daniel Ek keep a lower profile and not maybe get himself on the telly with Thierry Henry in the future?
I mean, Daniel Ek has classed himself as a fan, so why not go to the game? He's probably in Henry's box by the look of it. You can't stop a guy from going to the game if you're being invited. And I'm all for that. Having someone who is that rich being a fan of your club and having interest can't be a bad thing. But I'm very much in the same sort of boat as Melvyn there. The fact that, one, I don't see the owners moving on because they have invested money the past couple of years. You know what I mean? They've gone through the point of having, COVID and the club are losing money, and they've still invested heavily even from that, whereas a lot of clubs have hardly invested at all. Let's be honest. Like, there's a lot of clubs in the Premier League who spent next to nothing. I mean, well, no players, one of players. And so we've done that. Like, the fans demanded that. They've done it. Whether at the time people were happy or not, the fact of the matter is they did spend it and they bought the players the manager wanted. And, at the moment, things are going all right. We had a really rough start to the season, but the last few weeks have been very, very good. So, I can't see it changing. It's like Melvyn said, it's not up to Daniel Ek. It's not up to him. Like, he could bid twice the amount of what they're talking about. No one's forcing the Cronkies or KSE to cash in on that. So it's completely out of his hand. I mean, don't get me wrong, the romantic person in me sees Henry. There's been talk of Vieira and Bergkamp as part of that group as well. Of course you want those kind of players associated with a club, back in the club. It's great to see Henry in the stand with an Arsenal shirt on, and he's a fan. Yeah. So you want that. But as much as you think you want that, at the moment, what we need more than anything as a club, I think, is stability, both on the pitch and off the pitch. We need that stability if we're going to move forward. Because if we do get the owner changes, it's just going to ruffle the feathers. New manager will come in, players out, and then you're back to square one again. So I think the most important thing at the moment is stability. And the fans just getting behind the team now. The fans have been great, last couple of weeks. So let's just push on.
No, I agree. I do feel as though that's the most important thing. I think stability is a key word that you said there, actually, because that is what the club have maybe. I think there's been a lot of upheaval behind the scenes, hasn't there? There's been a complete overhaul of the scouting system, the youth set up, and all this kind of stuff. And as well as we've had 3 managers in what sort of three years, haven't we? So there's been a lot of upheaval behind the scenes, and maybe now is the time, like you said, to go for some stability. In terms of the owners, in terms of the coaching staff, the management, the players. Now we've got a young squad. And maybe this isn't the right time to be looking at making changes of that magnitude, because it's a big thing, isn't it? Changing the owner of a club. It isn't just a matter of it can be done quietly. It's a big, massive change, and like you said, as Melvyn said, bringing in new players, new managers will come with that, won't they? And we don't need that at the moment, do we? I mean, Dawsey, do you think that we shouldn't really be this shouldn't really be talked about at the moment, a takeover or any? I know it's probably not going to happen yet anyway, as the guys have said. It's not up to Daniel Ek when they sell, and they don't seem keen to sell anyway, and they have just put a load of money into it. I mean, do you think that maybe the whole thing needs to be pushed away for the time being at least, and just carry on with the progress that's being made on the pitch?
I think people just need to stop wasting their time thinking about it and talking about it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And let's face it, we've all, with the recruitment that we've got in, and I've said this all along, and hopefully you guys will back me up, that I've stuck with this, that this is the season that Arteta will be judged on. Not the last 2 years necessarily. With everything else that's gone on, Arteta's, I said this on your show before, Rich, Arteta's got no excuses this season. Absolutely none. And I have backed him. I have been behind him. But this for me is the season. And you can already see that this is not a short-term plan. We've got a young manager. We've brought in young players. As we've all said, they've backed both the managers and this longer-term project. So if anybody thinks that a takeover is going to happen anytime soon, then they're pretty deluded, if I'm being honest, because it seems, and Adam touched on it, and you're right, stability is such a key word for Arsenal at the moment, that we need that foundation to really build on. And it'll be interesting to see what happens this season. If we finish top 6 and we get back into Europe, because let's face it, that's the only realistic target we have to have this season. If we get back in Europa League, then it is progress for me, and we can start to build from there. And if we get top 6, is anybody going to be pushing for a takeover? I won't be. I don't think anybody. I think anybody that's a sensible football fan can realise that what Arsenal have been through the last 5-6 years, that has to be seen as progress. It's a step forward getting back into Europe. So the Cronkies are here for a while yet. I don't see it happening. No. And even if they're not, there's no guarantees that if Ek comes in tomorrow and buys the club, but you don't get any more guarantees that he's not going to rip the foundations up again and maybe try and do something different. Because by all accounts, he's got a different plan. He doesn't like what's happening at the club at the moment, and nor do a lot of us in the last kind of couple of years. But he's going to come in and rip up all of that again and start again, where's that going to put us? Are we going to go back to square one where we're finishing mid-table again, 8th, 9th, So for me, it's just wasted energy even thinking about takeovers and talking about them. Just do what the other guys have said. Use that energy elsewhere. Get behind the team. Get behind the manager. And it's just the support Sunday, was unbelievable. And the videos I'm sure we've all seen floating around social media of the fans after the game. I mean, we've got some of the best fans in the world, the proper fans, the ones that that support the club and are behind the club. They're some of the best fans in the world, mate. And it was really quite nice to see the fact that there are still decent fans out there that just want to get behind the club. So for me, I'm not even talking about a takeover. I'm not thinking about it. It is what it is, and it will happen when it happens. So I'm not going to bother wasting my energy thinking about it.
No, I mean that's totally. I totally agree with you 100% because it isn't something now. There was all these sort of half-hearted protests at the end of last season, wasn't there, and stuff like that, which never really took off. I think overall we need to forget about that. It was just, they made quite a big deal, didn't they, of the images of Daniel with Thierry Henry, and obviously Thierry Henry was asked about it, and it's been brought up again where, like you said, it isn't something that. It shouldn't even really be on the agenda at the moment because we have looked like we're finally getting a little bit of stability behind the scenes as well as on the pitch, and we need to make the most of that. I mean, I wanted to move on to you sort of touched on it there about the sort of crowd and how much they've got behind the team. I did want to kind of touch on that actually. I just feel the way that things have definitely changed in that respect over certainly since the start of this season. I mean, I know Melvyn and Adam, you were at the game, wasn't you, on Sunday? I was at the Burnley game the week before, and what I noticed was straight away, that was the first game I've been to since February 2020, so before all the lockdown, all that kind of stuff, very early days of Mikel Arteta, the last time I went to a game. And I think we'd all got used to the fact that at that time, the crowd were very quick to get on the players' back. Every misplaced pass was groans, and that was generally how it was. And it had been like that for quite a number of years. This wasn't a new thing, and it was totally refreshing last week for me when I was at Burnley to see that didn't happen. Players made mistakes, they misplaced passes, whatever it was, and there was no moaning and groaning. People just got behind the team, and obviously from Sunday you could see the change in the atmosphere. The Emirates has always been quiet, and it's never really had that on a consistent basis. And yes, it's only a couple of games that we've had it this season, but I mean, what did you make of that? Obviously, you was in the stadium on Sunday. The atmosphere is totally different now, isn't it? What do you think's kind of changed that? Because it was quite toxic, wasn't it? Not that very long ago.
I don't know. I think, is it because people appreciate watching football now? I don't know. It might be a little bit of that with full grounds.
Maybe.
It's a bit of two-way, isn't it, Richard? It's number one, everyone's excited. Arsenal, Spurs, you're excited anyway. Your emotions are going a million miles an hour around your head. And if we start like we did start on the front foot, then all of a sudden, the crowd get going because we're playing well, because we're getting behind the boys. They might even play even better. It just goes round in a circle, and it just got to a crescendo where we scored a goal and it just carried on again and carried on again. It was fantastic. And yeah, there were mistakes. I thought the right back, Tommy, I thought he looked a bit nervous. I know it sounds stupid. The first couple of minutes, I thought, because it was a big game, but I thought he looked a little bit nervous, but he got right into it. You've got to take your hat off to him. He got right into it. And I'll tell you what, that Ben White tackle set the scene, in my opinion. Got the crowd right behind them. And it was, if they needed any more, he gave it to us, Ben White. That tackle said, we're here. It's our ball. You come over this halfway line. It's our ball. Yeah. And that's the way, that is what you should do. Make it your own. And it was great to see. And the crowd were fantastic. I know it's easy to be fantastic when you're 3-0 up against Spurs, but before that, it was very, very good as well. So, just keep doing it, Arsenal. Just keep playing on the front foot. Because I'll tell you something, if for whatever reason they turn the light switch off and they start playing this sideways backwards, the crowd ain't going to be behind them that much. Believe me. But hopefully we've got past that.
No. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was at Burnley the week before, and it wasn't the most free-flowing performance from Arsenal at all, was it? It was a very sort of digging in and grinding out a 1-0, and which is fine. We've all enjoyed those plenty of times over the years, but the crowd never really got onto the players at all. It was all supportive, and we were winning the game, I guess, for most of it, so it does make it a bit easier. But I've noticed a complete change in the whole attitude of fans going to games. And you might be right, Melvyn. It could be because we've not been able to go for such a long time, and maybe people just want to appreciate and enjoy the fact that we're back in the stadiums and can be there again. I mean, obviously, Adam, you was there on Sunday as well, and I know you was at the Norwich game as well, wasn't you, prior to that? I mean, have you noticed, obviously, you've been going to games a long time, have you noticed a sort of change in, not just maybe necessarily Arsenal fans, but football fans in general, the atmosphere in the stadiums?
Massively. And I do think a lot of it is the fact that we've not been able to go for a while. I know personally, I went to that Rapid Vienna game when they were letting 8,000 people in for the Europa League, and I went because I wanted to go back to football, and that was just more of a novelty. It was this is all good. But first proper game I went back was the Norwich game. I was away for the Chelsea game, so I missed that. And even it was Norwich at home, we'd lost the first 3 games, but just that, for me, it was that feeling of being able to go back to football again, get out the tube, walk with the crowd again. It just felt good, and I think a lot of people are feeling that again. A lot of people are appreciating going to football again. So I do think people are in a better mood no matter what. I mean, I thought the Spurs atmosphere was incredible. And Spurs games at home are generally good atmospheres, aren't they? Unless we got to a really, really bad start. Remember the one a couple of years ago when it was 4-2. That was a real good atmosphere as well. But even the Norwich game, for instance, I felt the Norwich game started off pretty well. Everyone was bang up for it. But then the longer and longer it went on without scoring, the negativity and the anxiety crept back in. I mean, I've sat in my same seat now for God knows how many years since we've been to the Emirates, so how long ago that is. And, same people that you sit around and you get to know. And in the Norwich game, there was a few other people started being negative. But what I loved about that was the regulars were just shouting them down, literally, shut up. You can't get behind the team, get out, which I love to see. And then that brought everyone else back up, and then the atmosphere picks up again. But I do think that it's a two-way thing, because I think the players pick up on it, and in turn, when you see the players pick up on it, you react to them again. I mean, for me, Ramsdale is incredible. You can just tell he's so up for playing for Arsenal. He's so happy to be there, and that the first half, obviously you come down, he was straight over to both corners behind the goal. Clapping the crowd, getting them bang up for that. You love to see that. Do you know what I mean? You love to see players come up to you before games and get yourself going. And I mean, that gives everyone a lift. And I think also it's the fact that we know it's a young team now. We know that they need that support. We know that, getting on their backs is not going to help them. It's going to be counterproductive. And I do think we've had that realization now, where we've had a couple of seasons of mediocrity, and we realise that actually getting on their back, I say we realise, I'd say the majority of fans realise that actually it's not going to help them. These are kids who need our support, so let's get behind them. And if they do a mistake, let's move on. Let's just encourage them now. And a long way that continue. Like I said, I am worried about if we do go back to playing a bit more, pedestrian, backward passes, what will happen, because everyone knows that most fans are fickle and, won't take for it. But as long as we can keep getting that atmosphere before the games, it does give the players a lift, and it gives the fans a lift. So I hope it can continue. I really do, because like Dawsey said earlier, I think we've got an amazing fan base. I think we get a lot of stick, which is very, very unfair from opposing fans, and we get a lot of bad press and stuff. But I do think genuinely we've got a really good fan base around the world. Not just the games, but around the world. We've got a very positive fan base, and long may that continue.
Yeah, we have, and I don't think you're right. Actually, maybe Arsenal fans do get a bad kind of press based on 2 or 3 very small sections of Arsenal's fan, which tends to be given as the general kind of feeling about it. And that's not really the way Arsenal fans are in general, is it? You've got very small sections of people that are very loud, and subsequently that's what gets noticed, I suppose, maybe. But I agree. I think we've always had a good fan base. We've always been very supportive for the team, and even when we've had hard times, yes, it's hard to stay positive when you're losing games week after week. It's difficult, but ultimately, Arsenal fans have generally stuck with the team, even when we've not been doing well. When we were at Highbury, I know sometimes the crowds weren't always big, but everybody stuck with the team and with the club, and I think that's always been the way. I mean, Dawsey, obviously you did touch on it just before. Have you been to a game yet this season, or are you still waiting to get back?
Not this season. No, last game I went to was the West Ham game before lockdown. That was the last game I went to. So I don't get to as many games as I'd like to anyway. But I mean, I didn't need to go to the game to realise the change in atmosphere. It was immediately you could feel it, you could see it, you could hear it. And just touching on what Adam and Melvyn said, it's not difficult, is it? It's a relationship between players and fans, and you feed off each other. The players that we've brought in, the likes of Adam just mentioned it, Ramsdale, Ben White, Tomiyasu, all of those three players, Kieran Tierney, they all realise what an opportunity it is to be at such a big club, and that for me, I don't mind losing games if you've got a set of players that are there out there fighting for the shirt and fighting for the badge. I don't mind. That's as a fan, that's all I want. All I want to see is players that are fighting for the shirt. The rest of it for me is irrelevant to a certain degree. But yeah, it's a relationship, and you feed off each other. And the fact that obviously the season didn't start the way any of us wanted it to, so. And it was a concern for me about how the fans would react to that. But I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we had more fans at the Emirates against AFC Wimbledon than City had in their first Champions League game of the season.
Yeah, we did.
So, quite a lot more as well. Yeah.
So that for me tells its own story. That for me, we've got such a strong fan base. I can't think of any games off the top of my head, even through all the really rough times we've had over the last however many years you want to count back, where stadium's been half empty. Yes, maybe on the odd occasion where towards the end of the game it's maybe half empty if you've not got the result, but the fans are always there. And for me, the away fans, the Arsenal away fans, are right up there with the best in the league for me. The away fans, they're always there. You can always hear them, doesn't matter where they are. So. And like Melvyn just said, if you give something for the crowd to get excited about, we're behind them. It's not difficult. You fight for the bit on the pitch, and we'll fight for you. It's not rocket science. It's not a difficult relationship. If you're all pulling in the right direction, then it works. So yeah, it's been and a bit like our performances, the fan base have gone up a level every game, and like we've all said, it's very easy to get excited when you're 3-0 up against Spurs at home. It's easy to be an Arsenal fan. Then whether you're sitting in your armchair or whether you're in the stadium, it's very easy. But yeah, that like Adam said, the Norwich game, yeah, there's always going to be a bit of anxiety in a game like that, regardless of what kind of moment you're in or form you're in, momentum, whatever you want to call it. It's games like that you should be winning. And the longer it goes where you're not scoring, it's always difficult for the fan base to react to that. But yeah, I think that Spurs game Sunday will go down as one of the games in the Emirates, since we've been at the Emirates, that will really, really stand out. We can always think of the Barcelona game. There's games that have stood out over the last 15 years that you kind of think that you remember. You remember unbelievable atmospheres. And I think Sundays will go down as being right up there for me.
Yeah, no, it definitely will, and I suppose you're right what you say, that ultimately when the team's playing well and winning, it's easy to get behind them, and there's always going to be a good atmosphere. It's maybe sometimes when the team aren't playing so well or they're finding it difficult, maybe that's when the crowd are even more important to stick with the team and get behind them. And I think this season, even when we had a bad start, I did feel as though that was happening, and that the fans were still getting behind the team. That hasn't always been the case in recent years, with even going back to the last days of Arsene Wenger, when the crowd easily turned on the team quite quickly. And even this season, I haven't really noticed that, even when we were losing games before. So yeah, it's a positive sign. The only kind of negative for me I've noticed as well is there does seem to be, and again, it could be because fans haven't been in the stadiums for a long time. There does seem to be an element of the 1980s kind of stuff coming back in. I've noticed not so much in. Obviously, there was a little bit of trouble after the Burnley game. That was the Burnley fans to started all that. So the Arsenal fans weren't to blame. I noticed a few things in Man City as well. Seen a few videos of a bit of trouble outside the ground at Man City. Not just Arsenal games. I've been noticing stuff, seeing stuff in other games as well up and down the country. And I don't know whether or not this is just literally people letting off a little bit of steam because they've not been at football for a while, or whether there's some, I know there's a few underlying issues in the country at the moment as well, possibly that are behind it all. I mean, have you noticed anything in the games that you've been to, Melvyn? Any kind of violence underneath the surface somewhere? I've kind of been feeling it a little bit coming back.
No, not to the games I've been at. I've been at all 3 home games, and I went to the Wimbledon game as well. Sorry, 4 games. Yeah. And haven't noticed it, but I've seen something online which depressed me about going on. I think it's wrong with football, and it was Arsenal fans involved, which I won't go into, but I was disgusted with certain Arsenal fans. But no, I mean, if it goes on, it goes on. I haven't, and the reason it might go on, as I say, I haven't seen it. It could be, like you say, frustration, being locked up for a year and a half, being told what to do by the authorities, when you know they're as clueless as anyone else. You know what I mean? If you're being told by your teacher how to do maths, fair enough. If you're being told by the geezer on the street corner how to add up, you're not all that, why should I listen to you, mate? Yeah. So it's a bit like that. As I say, we've been locked up. It is a frustrating time. And really, the more people I speak to now, less and less of them listen to the news now. They can't be bothered. And I'm the same. I happen to watch programs that are slightly political, so I do get a little bit of news, obviously, through that. But apart from that, I don't watch any. I used to watch news programs like BBC The News or ITV, whatever, News at 10 or whatever, whatever. I don't bother with all that now. Sky News and get rid of it all. I just, if the news hits me, I listen to it, but I don't go looking for it because it can depress you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've stopped watching the news. I used to watch the news at 10 every night, and I don't anymore because I'm just sick of what goes on in it with the way that they report stuff, really. And I think that the latest crisis with their diesel and petrol and stuff kind of just sums it all up, really. The media have got a lot to answer for. But in terms of the football side of things, I mean, obviously, Adam, you've been to a few games this season already. Have you kind of noticed those sort of things creeping back in? I must admit, I have, and it's a little bit concerning now. Obviously, it's not more of a family go to football now than they used to in the 80s, and I think that is something that isn't going to be a positive step, is it, for football going forward now? We need to stop it, don't we?
Exactly. I mean, again, like Melvyn, personally, I have not seen anything with my own eyes since I've been going back again, but I've heard things and I've seen things online, and I think what's changed for me is that, if I'm quite honest with you, I've been fortunate enough to follow Arsenal since I was about 7 or 8. And when I was my late teens, early 20s, I don't go to the same drinking halls as I did then now. Do you know what I mean? And there's a reason behind that. Like, I don't want to see all that nowadays. I don't want to see it all. Doesn't sit well with me anymore. It's very much like you said, back in the dark ages. I just don't like all that stuff anymore. When you're a bit younger, you're like, yeah, this is all great. It's all part and parcel. And then you grow up a little bit and you realise that it's just stupid. But so I've not seen anything firsthand, but I've got a lot of good friends who go home and away to their respective teams. I've got a good mate who's a Millwall fan, goes home and away, and he's already told me a couple of horror stories this year. But likewise, he's also told me a couple of really nice stories where fans have actually met and paid tribute to people who have died and stuff like that. That's quite nice things. I think there was, I think you mentioned that some Millwall and Forest fans actually met up and laid a wreath for someone who passed away and stuff like that. I really like. I think it's really good that rival fans can put that rivalry behind and for something good. But yeah, you still got the minority, and thankfully it is the minority, I think. I mean, I heard a story about the Millwall West Brom. I didn't see anything about it online, but I read a nasty story about Millwall West Brom, and there should be no space for that in football nowadays. Do you know what I mean? Like, at all. It's just, you don't want to go back down to that way, do you? You just don't want it, because it's not going to help anyone. It's not going to help football. It's not going to help the clubs, anyone involved. So I hope it doesn't. But I do think a lot of it is letting off steam. Getting back into crowds, being able to travel on the trains, on the coaches, to go back to your away games, and overzealousness, things like that. So, and hopefully it was just a phase, and it'll all peter out. And thankfully I've not seen it face to face in around Arsenal yet. I hope I don't, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I there was a little bit of stuff in the ground at Burnley after the game with the Burnley fans, which wasn't very nice to see, and that was almost a throwback to the 1980s in a way. You've not really seen a lot of stuff happening inside the ground for a long time. And I mean, Shane puts a comment in the chat there saying about think fans might be able to stand in the stadium soon, and that's an important point because they've got safe standing at Manchester City, they've got it at Tottenham as well, I believe, and at a few other grounds that are going to be bringing it in. And the last thing we want is for stuff like this to put a stop to that, because I think safe standing has got to be the way forward now in football. I believe everyone stands anyway, don't they, most of the time, even when there's the seats are there. So I think safe standing is definitely the way to go forward, and I don't want to see any of this stuff getting out of hand, and the authorities will be quick to clamp down on stuff straight away, because they've always done that with football, haven't they? They've always treated football fans slightly different to the rest of society, and I don't want that to happen again, because I think it's become a better place to be going to football these days, and I don't want to see it creeping back. And some of the things that I've seen personally and some of the videos that I've seen has kind of concerning me a little bit. I mean, what are you thinking about that, Dawsey? Do you think that it is maybe just a phase because of the way we've all been treated as a society for a long time, and people are just maybe just glad to be outside and maybe they're letting off steam? Or do you think that maybe there's a little bit more underlying stuff to it that we need to kind of try to get out of the game?
I don't think you're ever going to eradicate it. I think historically it is a part of football, whether or not we like it or not. I think there's always going to be little pockets of it here and there, rivalries, and it happens. I guess what you don't want to see happening is, like you've just said, is it creeping into the stadiums, having it in the immediate concourse outside the stadium. That's not where you want it. If they want to go and have a scrap down the little quiet lane, back of a field or whatever, then let them crack on. That's part and parcel of football. I guess it's always been there. But I mean, I've only obviously seen what's online. It's not nice. You don't want to see it. And unfortunately, like everything else nowadays, if anything happens, it ends up online and everybody sees it. So nothing happens in secret anymore. It's always going to come out, unfortunately. So I would like to think it is just a case of, like Adam and Melvyn were just saying, that it's just that whole excitement, isn't it? It's been built up over 18 months, 2 years of kind of getting back to this point, and kind of that maybe that excitement's just boiling over a little bit. I just want to mention quickly, and I meant to mention it in the last segment we did about because I obviously Jimmy Greaves passing away towards the back end of last week. I was a bit concerned because I immediately, when I thought about that and the North London derby came up, it made me think back of when Rocky passed away, and obviously we played Tottenham at Highbury then, and the Spurs fans were unbelievable with their respect towards Rocky, and I thought Arsenal fans were exactly the same back towards Jimmy. So I meant to mention it in the last section. So just another point just to mention about the current fan base, and they're proper fans. You can appreciate a good player, doesn't matter what shirt they wear, and Jimmy was right up there with the best. So yeah, it's a shame. But yeah, hopefully it's just once that excitement settles down a little bit, hopefully we'll see it take a back step.
I was when I was young, Jimmy Greaves was the footballer. Everyone spoke about him. He was the god. Yeah. He was that good. And all my family were Arsenal. And I must admit, later on in life, a few years later, when he's had a testimonial against Feyenoord, I went because I respected the geezer. He was a terrific footballer. You could not like the guy. This even before he went on telly as a pundit. As a footballer, he just put the ball in the net. He didn't go and dive like they do. He just played the game. He wasn't in the referee's ear. He wasn't doing stupid things. He was just doing it from pure ability and something. He had the X factor, whatever that was. He had it. And as I say, I went to his testimonial, and I'm glad I did. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, no, he was a fantastic footballer and a great personality as well. I mean, Saint and Greaves, we all loved from the 1980s, 1990s, didn't we? Fantastic entertainment it was. They were both brilliant, a pair of them. But yeah, Jimmy Greaves was and it's funny because I kind of agree that I don't look on Jimmy Greaves as being a Tottenham player. I just look on Jimmy Greaves as being a great footballer and a great personality, and regardless that he played for Tottenham isn't relevant to me at all. And yeah, the reception on Sunday before the game was brilliant, wasn't it? The applause from everybody in the ground, and that was fantastic and fully deserved as well, because he was, I say, a great player and a great guy as well. It's a shame, obviously, that he's had to go at his time, but yeah, that was great, and it does show, doesn't it? Football fans do come together. I mean, Adam mentioned it as well. You know, football fans do come together, don't they, for these things like that? Because ultimately, we can't understand, don't we? Like you said, Tottenham did it for Rocastle that day, and that was fantastic. And you know, Arsenal fans have done the same now for Jimmy Greaves. I'm sure these things will happen all the way through. You know, because that's what football is about. It does bring people together, and it's easy sometimes to lose track with that a little bit, isn't it? You know, because there's rivalry, isn't it, that now, and that's all part of football as well, as you said, Dawsey. It's always going to be there. And there's nothing wrong with a bit of rivalry either, is there? But it's just being sensible about it, and you know, showing respect for people that deserve the respect, and making sure that it doesn't, you know, go too far.
You made the word that you said there sums it all up. Respect.
Yeah.
That beats everything. Respect.
Yeah.
You can't beat respect. Sorry.
No, you're right, exactly, and maybe sometimes that's a bit lacking, isn't it, in society in general sometimes. But it's good when you witness it. It's great to see, and that's what we like to see. We've got James Johnson in the chat there. He says he went to Arsenal v Chelsea with Melvyn, and apart from them booing Saka every time he touched the ball and a few choice things said to Pepe, it was very tame. Melvyn was very well behaved. Well, of course, Melvyn was well behaved. We wouldn't have expected anything different, would we? Because you know, Melvyn wouldn't be involved in anything unsavoury, would he? And James said before, he said, "How you doing? Good evening." We've got Joe in the chat as well. He says, "Hi, Rich," and he also says he realised after watching Uber make so many runs against Spurs, people didn't pick him out. I just don't think he's as lazy as people say. Well, he maybe had a spell where he was maybe a bit lazy, but he certainly wasn't on Sunday. And Russ is in the chat as well. How you doing, Russ? Thanks for tuning in. So that's the sort of comments that we've got at the moment. So yeah, I mean, it's good that the atmosphere has definitely improved, and it is good to obviously to have fans back in the ground, full stadiums everywhere except for at Man City, of course, where they'll never have a full stadium. But everywhere else, it's good to see full stadiums, and yeah, let's just hope that, you know, that the silliness doesn't kind of take off, and it, you know, it's soon kind of put back to where it belongs, really, which is maybe in the 1980s, which is where it should stay. So right, okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go back and do our little archive section, because we do love that, and it's a season that promised a lot and didn't quite deliver as much as we thought it would. It's good to see Dawsey and Adam actually with the shirt on from that season as well. Mine, unfortunately, is not in any state to wear anymore because all the letters are faded and stuff like that, which is a shame. So as you can see from him, is there William Gallas, of course, sitting on the floor after the game against Birmingham. That I think many people felt that season cost us the opportunity to win the title when we were in such a good position. Of course, the injury to Eduardo, who was just finding his feet, wasn't he, that season? I mean, that was, for me, probably the last season where I felt we could have won the league, really. You know, we've not really come close as that since, have we, to be honest? We've had a few things where maybe February or March we were up there. But that season we only lost 3 games in the Premier League, got 83 points. And 2 of those defeats were to Chelsea and Man United, who came first and second. So it just, we were very, very close to, you know, we would have been at our first title at the Emirates as well. And would that have possibly changed the modern history of Arsenal, maybe, if we'd gone on and won the league that season? And we were so close, wasn't we? There was I remember a couple of home games, Aston Villa, Middlesbrough, where we drew, games that we should have won. That's 4 points. We only finished 4 points off the title. So, you know, we were so close. Obviously, that Birmingham game where we were 2-1 up, conceded that soft penalty, which Gallas wasn't very happy about. And yeah, we played some great football. And, you know, I say that's the last time that I can remember us really feeling that we had a real good chance of winning the league. And then it all got taken away from us. I mean, what were your memories of that season, Melvyn? It was frustrating in the end, wasn't it? Because we were so close.
Very frustrating. Just go back to the Birmingham game. Everyone has a go at Gallas for what he did. All right, it's not great, but in the bigger picture, forget about that. People forget that when we were 2-1 up and they had 10 men, Birmingham, I think it might have been 15 minutes to go. I mean, to go back again, we played Spurs in the semi-final of the League Cup and they beat us 4 or 5-1. I think it was 5-1. And up front was Bentner and Adebayo, and they had a punch-up. Right?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
Right. A month or two later, we're playing Birmingham away. We're 2-1 up. Adebayo's got the ball. All he has to do is pass it square, and Bentner has to blow it in the net to make it 3-1, game over, an extra 2 points for us. No, he's either doing it because he don't like Bentner, or he's doing it because he's greedy. Whatever you like. From an angle, he tries it, which has less chance of scoring. He misses it, and we know what happens after that. We get the dodgiest penalty against us ever. Clichy clips the geezer from behind him. If he had wing mirrors on Clichy, I can understand the ref giving a penalty. But it was a dodgy. No one talks about a dodgy. Everyone talks about Gallus. That didn't. Gallus never cost us a game. I'm sorry, Gallus did not cost us that game.
No, Gallus didn't. No.
You know, always. Anyway, so that game. After that game, we lost all momentum because of Eduardo's injury and dropping the points in the way we did, and we should have slaughtered Birmingham all over him. It was a 2-1 thrashing before they equalised in the last minute. So I can understand Gallus's, and I was, and I'm sure everyone else was, frustration. But apart from that, we did play some very good football that year. Adebayo scored 30 goals that season in all competitions.
He did, yeah. 30,
I think Fabregas got a few as well from midfield. Everyone contributed. But some of the games was we beat Spurs 3-1 away when they scored first. A guy called Bale scored one from a free kick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he did,
I think he was going through a period, Bale, that every time he played the Spurs, they never won. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, they went for a long period. So they thought that's it, we've done that. Anyway, we had, of course, some cracking goals. Fabregas got a 30-yarder. Adebayo got one, he flicked it up and put it in well. I mean, we got some really good goals that day. Also, we beat Everton away 4-1. Now, Richard, you're very good, better than me. You know what happened that day?
We were down to 10 men, weren't we, in that game?
Yeah, we were. I think.
Bentner got sent off.
Yeah, Bentner got sent off. Yeah, Eduardo scored his first league goal, didn't he? He got 2 that day. And we were down to, we were losing 1-0. We were down to 10 men.
That's right.
And we ended up coming back.
Cahill scored the first. But you know what else happened that day?
Arteta
got sent off for Everton.
Oh, he did, yeah. That's right, he did. Yeah, you're right, he did. I remember that now. Yeah. He did get sent off. Yeah.
So, but it was a strange. What I remember about the season is frustrating. Is that we had a plethora of midfielders, like holding midfielders that season. Flamini, we had Fabregas who could play that role. We had a geezer that we bought from Chelsea called Diarra.
He was good, actually, wasn't he?
He was terrific. He was top notch. We knew how top notch he was, and we only had him for 5 months. He wanted to go because we couldn't keep him. He went to Norwich, and we've got a profit on him. I think we made $1.5 million. But a year or so later, he found his level and was playing for Real Madrid. And then that season, I think we let a few of the midfielders go anyway. A season or two later, we hadn't got any. So that was a silly one. That was
I remember thinking that at the time we should have kept him because it
was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. Also, to go back into Europe, we beat AC Milan 2-0 away. That was a great Arsenal performance. A wonderful goal from Fabregas. And then was it Walcott crossing it for Adebayo, wasn't it?
Adebayo, yeah.
That was what a great night that was. That was absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And then on the other side of the seesaw, we played Liverpool, and I thought we played very well away. We think we drew at home. We had that. I think Walcott had a fantastic run. I think again he made it for Adebayo. And it was 2-2. So we were through on goals. And a minute later, there was a penalty for Liverpool. But to this day, I don't believe it was a penalty. He just died. The Dutch geezer they had, some Dutch guy that we were after. Torre supposed to fouled him. And I felt I was up here going, yes, we're going to get through against Liverpool away, which I could never believe. We never beat Liverpool away apart from certain games. And a minute later, we give away. I don't know if we did give it away. The referee gave Liverpool a penalty, so that was very, very frustrating. And also a classic game was when we, but again, down to 10 men again, when we were 2-0 down against Bolton. 3-2. Fabregas got the winner on that one, didn't he? He came in from the left.
I think it was given as an own goal, but it was Fabregas' shot.
Fabregas' goal. Yeah. Come on. So
he was nearly crying when he celebrated that goal as well.
It was fabulous. I mean, for me, that season had so many great games, but as you say, as the end neared, it was once we hit the Birmingham game, we fell off a cliff, which is so disappointing. Because
we did. I mean, that was disappointing. I mean, the Liverpool game you mentioned there, and that was probably even more disappointing because we had a decent chance in the Champions League that season, I felt. And when Adebayor scored that goal with about 5 minutes to go, was putting us through on away goals. I mean, we were going mental in the away end, and literally we were still celebrating when they got the penalty.
Exactly, a minute later.
And I didn't even believe it. It's like, what's happening here? They've got a penalty. I didn't even see it at the time. I've seen it since, and it's like, well, that was literally never a penalty. And if VAR had been involved in football then, we would have got through. We would have gone
No, you don't know, Richard. With VAR, they still would have given it probably.
Well, yeah, probably it was against us, but I mean, yeah, that was probably the most frustrating result of the season actually, because by that point the league title was slipping away. We had a lot of draws, and then that was maybe we're pinning our hopes on winning the Champions League, and then it got taken away from us really. But yeah, I mean, Adebayor did score a lot of goals that season, but you could see, as you mentioned that with the thing with Bentner, which I remember, he didn't seem to maybe be very popular in the dressing room, did he? Which we kind of understand that more now, perhaps as to why that might have been from what's happened in his career since. But yeah, that was a shame really, because he had the potential, didn't he, Adebayor, to go on and have a great career at Arsenal, scoring 30 goals. I mean, that was the first season without Thierry Henry because he'd left the summer before, and it seemed as though, a bit like now, maybe a younger team that was transitioning from the Thierry Henry kind of team, and that was such a good season. It's just a shame how it finished. I mean, Dawsey, you must, Adam, you must have a lot of great memories of that season.
Yeah, I remember it well. Obviously, you tend to remember the negative stuff more.
Yeah, you do.
When you look beyond that, we played some lovely stuff that season. I mean, I do remember Adebayor. I think that season, he was untouchable. He had everything. He had speed, he had that stature, and he was at the top of his game. And I don't think he ever played as good as that after he left us, which was, again, quite nice to see because, as it turned out, he wasn't the nicest of person by the sound of it. But, exactly. Yeah, I mean, at the time, I remember the goals against Spurs when he just kind of turned and put it in top. That was a great goal. I also remember, some of the players that year, when you look back on them and you think, oh, how did we do that well? Denilson played a lot of games. I remember Senderos playing quite a lot of games that year. He was good. I think that was kind of this breakthrough. You're thinking, well, we've got a decent centre back here who can push through for the next 10 years, and then that all went to pot. I think Flamini was really good that season as well, if I remember rightly, doing that kind of anchor in the midfield. I really liked Flamini. I loved the way he played.
Remember that goal he got? Was it against Newcastle that season when he smashed it in the top corner? That was an unbelievable goal, wasn't it? Flamini. He didn't get many goals, did he? But that one was special, wasn't it?
But I remember obviously the Birmingham game, like Melvyn remembers, and I remember it for exactly the same reason. We should have been out of sight from that game, completely out of sight. But then, fate kind of steps in there. And I remember the game after that, I think it was Villa at home. We drew 1-0. I think it was last minute equaliser. It was as if we were defeated that day. When you want a reaction from the team after what went against us the week before, we didn't get it. No. And I think that was because we didn't get a reaction then. We never recovered fully. We never really, and I think we drew quite a lot after that. We only lost 3 games, didn't we, the whole season, which is a pretty good record now. And I think United, who won it, lost 5. We drew too many. After that period, we found it really hard to get that move on. And I do think it was definitely a chance wasted, because I think at the beginning of the season, I don't think we expected to really challenge. But the top 4 is standard. With the team we had, losing Henry, everyone was kind of thinking, oh God, this is going to be transitional. But then they performed. They performed well, and we were quite exciting as well. We were a very exciting team on that day to watch. I do remember the season fairly fondly still, I suppose, because definitely a missed opportunity. And I think only since then was probably the season Leicester won it, when we still come second, well behind. But those are the only kind of 2 kind of seasons, the Emirates eras, that I can think that we were in with a shot, really, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I never really felt that Leicester season that we were close enough to really feel that we could win it. But obviously that 07-08 season, I did feel as though we were so close to doing it. James says in the chat there, similar to you, he says that season and the one with Leicester, I thought we was close. So annoying that Birmingham game. Yeah, we all were. Eduardo was sublime. He was just getting his form, wasn't he? He said Gallas absolutely petulant, disgraceful for me. He was petulant, yeah. And as a captain of the club, he shouldn't have done that. I suppose that reaction wasn't great, was it at the end? But I agree with Melvyn. It wasn't Gallas that cost us that game.
He was frustrated.
He was just frustrated without it ended. Yeah, it was, and that it was a shame. And Nigel in the chat there as well says 07-08 was our strongest squad post Invincibles era. Yeah, it probably was. Although we have witnessed lesser squads on paper since then, we've won trophies. It's funny, our game. Yeah, it's true. We have won trophies with a squad that hasn't been as good as that particular squad. I totally agree, but that's football. But we haven't managed to win the league, have we? And that maybe is crucial. That's why you need to have a decent squad like that, and that was maybe our chance. I mean, you must have some great memories of that Dawsey D that season 07-08. It was a good season overall, wasn't it? Looking back on it now, probably a little bit more fondly than at the time where we felt. Don't forget, that wasn't that long after the Invincibles, was it? Really, we still had that in the back of our mind, and you know, I've probably felt more frustrated at the end. But looking back on it now, it was a great season, actually. Great football.
Yeah, we played some great stuff. I can't really add anything else in terms of what the other guys have mentioned about the Birmingham game and kind of the frustrations that kind of we all felt looking back at that season and how close we were. The one game that we haven't mentioned yet is probably the game at home against Slavia Prague. We won 7-0. I went fortunate enough to go to that game, and that was a brilliant performance with some unbelievable goals in that game. Ultimately a frustrating season, but now that we look back at it, there's games that you can pick out and kind of really enjoy. But Adebayor, I never really got overly emotionally connected with him. He was just a player for me. Like, he didn't really never really connected with him like you do with some certain special players. But you can't take away the fact what he did that season. He was absolutely brilliant. He reminded me so much of Drogba in the way that he played. He was that big, strong, powerful. He was quick. He was good in the air. He was agile. He was athletic. The guy had everything. He really did. But he just falls into that plethora of players that have gone on and left Arsenal thinking that the grass is greener the other side, and their careers unfortunately have gone on a downward spiral. I read, was it today or yesterday, that Sami Nasri announced his retirement? He's another one. It's never really asked about him, but I've seen clips of him in that Porto game, that goal he scored against Porto, where he turned about 4 defenders inside out. He was unbelievable. But again, he just one of those players that maybe looked at Arsenal as a stepping stone, and wrongly so, because they all turned out. Haleb was another one. Went on thinking that the grass was going to be greener, moving to Barcelona, and look what happened. I've seen interviews of him since then saying that he should never have left Arsenal. Unfortunately, Adebayor kind of probably falls into that group of players, doesn't he? Where he was really starting to find his form, and that season he was phenomenal. And like we've all said, losing Henry that season, you kind of wonder where we're going to go with that. But I mentioned to Eduardo as well, because that guy was. When you look back at the Premier League seasons and you look at players that are kind of natural born finishers, you look at people like Robbie Fowler, people that are just Jimmy Greaves, obviously not Premier League era, but he was just a natural born finisher. He knew where the goal was and he knew how to put it away. And Eduardo was very much like that. And it was such a shame, because he was just really starting to find his feet at the club. He was settling in. And he just came across as such a likable guy as well. It was just such a horrific challenge that ultimately he never really recovered from, unfortunately. So frustrating season looking back in it, but I think it's only frustrating because we haven't come close since.
Exactly.
If we'd have won it since then, or at least come very close, then maybe there wouldn't be so much frustration with that particular season.
Did we come close when we played against
Leicester?
Birmingham? Not Leicester, no. Birmingham. We drew 1-1 away at Birmingham.
I remember that game. That was a couple of minutes later, wasn't it?
Made a bad mistake, and Phillips.
The last minute, wasn't it? Last minute.
When we closed that season, that game again, after that game, we fell off a bloody.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think up till that point we were close. I think that was sort of like March time, that game, the Birmingham one. And I think we were maybe top or second. Yeah, and then we fell away. Yeah, if we'd won that game, I think we could have gone on and won it that year as well. Yeah. We ended up quite a long way off in the end because once we drew that game, we drew a few more, lost a couple, and that was all over. But yeah, I think we were. I mean, there was a few seasons around about that time when when it got to sort of March time, we were in with a chance because we were there or thereabouts, and then we just. I remember there was a game away at West Brom at one time as well, where I think we came back and got a draw when we needed to win, and I don't know if that was the same season possibly. I remember I was at that game. We drew 2-2. I think Arshavin scored, Van Persie scored, and we ended up drawing 2-2. And I think if we won that game, it could have given us the momentum for the last maybe 5 or 6 games and gone on and won it a couple of times. But yeah, I never felt really confident and comfortable that we could win the league any other season, maybe apart from that one where we were so close that year. You know, I think we ended up, say, 4 points off of Man United who won it. And we lost to them. We were 1-0 up actually at Old Trafford near the end of the season, where I think we were 1-0 up away at Chelsea and we lost 2-1. We were 1-0 up at Man United and we lost 2-1. And if we just got draws in them 2 games, that could have made the difference as well. So we were really close that year, so close. And yeah, maybe Eduardo, if he'd been fit at the end of the season, might have banged a few goals in and won some of them games that we drew. And who knows? We'll never know, will we? I guess. But it was just one of them. It was a great season to watch Arsenal, though, because we did play some incredible football that season. It was just, I mean, obviously the Slavia Prague game that you mentioned there, the 7-0, that was fantastic, wasn't it? That was our biggest ever Champions League win. And that was just a fantastic performance. Some of the goals that night. Hleb had a really good game, didn't he?
Oh, Hleb ran the show, Richard.
Yeah, he did.
You look at some of the clubs that were in the Premier League back then as well, though, who like completely died. I mean, you got Derby, Bolton, Portsmouth,
Wigan,
Blackburn, Sunderland. Like, talk about a different league, different era.
Yeah. No,
you're right. Good memories against Birmingham, have we? When it was 2011, where we lost against them in the League Cup final as well. That horrific.
Bit of a bogey team, aren't they, Birmingham?
I went to a famous Birmingham game, a very famous Birmingham game. We played them in the FA Cup. I think it was the 5th round. We were slaughtering them at Highbury, 1-0 up. Cigars were out. You know, really, who we got in the next round? And in the last minute, our goalkeeper, Jim Furnell, let a header in from the edge of the box. Work that one out. I'm serious. And as they're coming off the pitch, I couldn't hear it because I was right around the back. And my dad used to sit quite near the front. And as they're coming off the pitch, he could hear Frank McClintock giving Jim Furnell a rucking. And after the game, when I met him, he goes, "That goalie will never play for Arsenal again." And he never did. That's when Bob Wilson came in the team.
Oh, wow.
Who wasn't, with all due respect, who we saw a great goalkeeper he was, Bob Wilson. He wasn't that rated as that highly. And he bloody took his chance when he came in the team, Bob Wilson.
Yeah, well, he did. Yeah, he was a great goalkeeper in the end. But yeah, again, at Birmingham, maybe a bit of a bogey. They're just maybe a bogey team for us, actually.
Maybe
over the years, they seem to have been, don't they? So I'm glad they're not in the Premier League at the minute, actually. But anyway, let's hope we don't come up against them anytime soon. Gary's in the chat as well. DWTT. Make sure you check his channel out as well. How you doing, Gary? Thanks for tuning in. He says hello to the chat room as well. And Nigel there says physicality or lack of was ultimately our downfall. He said Slot, Thomas Partey in midfield and Lauren Koscielny in defence, and I think we matched Manchester United man for man, bar maybe Ronaldo. Yeah, obviously they won the league and the Champions League that year, didn't they? Obviously Ronaldo had a great season. Was that the season when he scored about 40 odd goals, wasn't it? I think that season, Ronaldo. I mean, we probably did lack a little bit of physicality. I think maybe we needed another goal scorer as well, obviously, when Eduardo was out. Bentner came in and scored a couple, but he was just Bentner, wasn't he? He was probably never going to win the Premier League, was you, with Nicholas Bentner as your main striker, unfortunately, as much as I loved him. But yeah, it was just one of them seasons, wasn't it, where we just fell short, as we did a few times around that period. And I suppose now we'd be quite happy. We'd celebrate that, wouldn't we? No matter where we finished, I think. Imagine us getting that many points. I can't remember last time we got anywhere close to 83. That's probably it. I don't think we've got anywhere near that, have we, since? I don't think. That was unbelievable.
I think is that a record for 3rd place?
It might well be. When we've won the league with less points than that before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 83 points is a fantastic total. And yeah, to only finish third, I think we lost 3. I think Chelsea came second. I think they lost 3. And Man United won the league. They couldn't have lost a lot more. And
they lost 5. I think United lost
5. Yes. So there you go. I mean, they weren't really like they don't lose many games, do they? And back then, a lot of the teams. So it was a strong league, and unfortunately, we just fell short. But it was a good season overall, and I say I'm sure we'd all take a season like that now. I wouldn't like, if we finish 83 points this year, I'll be more than happy. I'll tell you.
I think we finished with more points than United that year, but they still gave the title to United.
Yeah, they might well have done. Yeah, they probably did. Yeah, VAR probably gave it to them.
If I remember it rightly, yeah, I think that's what happened.
It probably wouldn't surprise me actually. Maybe we need to check the records and see.
Ridiculous to think the Invincibles only got 7 more points in that, isn't it? And we didn't lose a game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. You know, 83 points is a very, very good total, isn't it? You should be winning the league with 83 points. So, you know, however frustrated we maybe feel now that we didn't, we can't have done a lot more, really, could we? When you think about it, losing only 3 games and that many points, we probably deserved to win the league. But unfortunately, 2 teams got more, and that was unfortunately what happened. So that was a good season to look back on anyway. Maybe a little bit more recent than some of the seasons that we've looked back on before. But it's all good stuff. It's all part of the history of the club, and it's nice to look back on seasons like that. But obviously we do have a game this weekend as well, which is easy to forget. It's going to be quite a tough game as well, so we need to have a little look at that as well. So Brighton away, obviously Brighton had been a bit of a bogey team for us actually until last season when we beat them twice. There was a tight game away, wasn't it? And then the last game of the season where not a lot to play for. And we beat them quite comfortably. But they've had a great start to the season, actually, Brighton, haven't they? They would have gone top last night if they'd won, and then they got a last-minute draw. This is going to be, I think, a real test. You know, we've had 3 games that we've won, which, you know, Norwich at home, Burnley away, you'd think, yeah, we should be beating teams like that. Spurs, we always seem to beat them at the Emirates anyway. Now, this is a game, I think it's a real test for this new team, isn't it? I think they're a good team. They're playing well. They're not conceding many goals. They're solid. And I think this is going to be the first real test for this group of players playing together. It's a shame Xhaka's not going to be playing because I think he would have been quite important. I mean, what are you thinking about this game, Melvyn, ahead of the Brighton game on Saturday evening? It's going to be a really difficult game, isn't it?
It's going to be difficult. But I think if we were playing like we did a few weeks ago, hitting high balls and fiddling around with the ball, I think we'd be struggling because they would eat everything up, Brighton. You've got to play through the midfield and attack their centre halves straight on rather than from the side. Yeah. I think we did that against Spurs to a degree. We moved the ball fast when it was from the side. If we continue doing that, they're big guys at the back, Brighton, and they don't turn as well as the small guys. I think if we do that, we'll have every chance. Our fancies. Can I give my prediction?
You can give your prediction now. I'll write in our predictions. We can do it there if you want.
I think we've got the momentum. Let's keep going with the momentum. My fancy is to win 2-0.
2-0. Okay, that would be a good result. I'm sure we'd all be happy with that. Bearing in mind how high up the table Brighton have how well they've started. I mean, but yeah, I agree. It is going to be a tough game. They're a very big side, aren't they? Physically big. But they play good football as well, so it's going to be a good game to watch probably. I mean, what are you thinking, Adam? Obviously, ahead of this game, it's I think it's the first real big test for this young team since we've got all these players back in the side.
Yeah, I mean, I've always I've liked Brighton since they've been back in the Premier League, especially since Potter's gone there. I think they're a really tough team to beat, and I think whenever I saw them play last year, they didn't always win the games, but they were always in the game. You know, they were always causing trouble. They're pretty solid at the back, and I think what I like about it is they play as a team. They know they've not got any real kind of stars in that team, but they support each other. But I am still pretty confident. If we play like we have done the past few games, especially Sunday, and we start on the front foot, I do think we've got too much for them. I think that other than obviously Xhaka, whether we bring back in Pepe and move that around, or whether we bring Sambi straight in like replacement, I do think we should have enough to beat them. But it will be tough, and I think it will be a test because we are going away. We have lost that ground before, we've won before as well. But it's a ground that we haven't always done well on. There was a bit of needle a couple of years ago, weren't there, between a couple of players as well, so that may well be remembered. But I am thinking that if we can kind of push on, this is a good game for us to test ourselves, see where we're at, because Brighton ain't gonna give us any inch, and unlike Spurs, who had a couple of bad games, Brighton have been pretty good so far this season. They've been getting good results, if not spectacular results, but they look very, very hard to beat. But I actually did go the same as Melvyn, 2-0 Arsenal, to be honest with you. I just think that we can build momentum from Spurs game. There's no reason why we can't do that. I do think we'll be too strong for them.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, this is. I agree. I think it is a really big test for us now. We have got a young team, as we've said. We're going to be missing one of our more experienced players as well in a crucial part of the pitch. So it's going to be a big test for us, definitely. And we're going to have to be on our top form, aren't we, to get a result in this game? We can't afford to take it lightly. We need to keep that momentum going from Sunday. But it's certainly not. It's certainly not a game that you would have. I certainly wouldn't have picked this as our next game after beating Tottenham at home in that way. You'd want maybe a game a little bit more straightforward in what's going to be a tough game. I mean, what are you making of that, Dawsey? Do you think that it's going to be that sort of game, or do you think we'll just turn up and be able to beat them because we've got technically better players?
No, I think it'd be the same as you boys. I think it'll be a tight game. I think, like you said, they've started the season really well. Like Adam said, they're always in games. So they don't concede a lot of goals. They don't lose games 3-4, 5-0. It's the one thing I did read. I think it was this morning. I think they've got quite a few injury concerns, and from what I've read, about 6 players potentially not available. So even if it's half of that, it's still a big chunk of a squad to have out, isn't it? So. Whether or not that will play a factor, but yeah, I think it will be a tight game. I don't think there'll be a lot in it. I think that Bissouma, I mean, I really liked him. I'd have liked us to have tried to get him in the summer because I do like him. I remember he had a great game, didn't he, towards the end of the season at the Emirates when he played us, because there started to be a few rumours floating around that Arsenal were interested, so he stepped up and he was superb in that game. So I expect him to have a good game if he's playing. But I think it'll be tight. And actually, I think I'm going to stick to maybe apart from Sunday aside, current results. I'm going to go 1-0 Arsenal. We should hopefully just have enough, but I do think it will be tight.
Yeah, I mean, it was 1-0 last year, wasn't it, when we played them away, and that was quite a difficult game over Christmas. We were just starting to get a bit of form then as well, actually, wasn't we, when we played them last time? So hopefully the same might happen again. Did you give a score prediction for that, Adam, or not?
2-0.
You said 2-0 as well, okay. I actually gone for 2-1. I think Brighton will probably score because I think they're a threat, but I do think we'll. I'm still confident after the way we played on Sunday. And I think if we play, anywhere near that kind of level, we should have too much for Brighton. But it'll be a difficult game, and I'm sure that they'll make it hard for us because of, they'll play to their strengths. Potter's a great coach. A lot of bigger clubs are sniffing around. Apparently, Tottenham have been, we're interested in him. He's a coach that I've been pushing. Obviously, when we were struggling with Arteta, I would have took Potter. At that point, I think now Arteta obviously deserves that more time now anyway, but he's certainly one for the future. And I said it on, I don't know if it was on, I think it was on someone else's show I was on. I actually said I believe Graham Potter is going to become eventually the first English manager to win the Premier League because he'll end up going to a bigger club, whether it be a Chelsea or Man United or Arsenal, and I think he will, or Liverpool possibly, and I think he will become the first English manager to win the Premier League because I just think he's a coach, and with a bigger club with better players, I really do think he can do it. So I'm going to stick with that prediction. I still think he will be, and I hope maybe it may well be with us. Who knows? Maybe that'll be where he ends up. I don't know. As long as it is Potter,
he's turned his career around, didn't he? Because he wasn't all that at Phoenix Knights, was he?
No, he has turned it around well, yeah. But I mean,
we've got a lot of respect for him on that.
No, he has. He's done well for himself. He's good to see. James Johnson in the chat, he says 2-1. That's what I predicted. He's Emil Smith Rowe.
Yeah, go on.
Emil Smith Rowe had a great game, didn't he, on Sunday? It'd be nice for him to get another goal. And Nigel says there, Samuel Lokonga has looked good so far this season. Yeah, he has. He won't have a better opportunity to cement himself in that midfield pivot alongside Party. If that's our Arteta's going to do it, because he hasn't picked those two in the Premier League, has he? Even though they've been available. He says, I don't have much faith in the other midfield options. No, that is our problem, isn't it? We said before, 1 or 2 injuries in key positions and we could struggle a little bit. But yeah, I'm hoping to see Sambi Lokonga get a few games in midfield with Thomas Partey, just to see how they play together, because we've not seen them play in the Premier League yet. So it'd be nice to see him. Obviously, there's not a lot of choices now, is there? Because we've Xhaka out. Obviously, El Nenny's the other main option. Maitland-Niles possibly as well. But you'd say Sambi's got to be favourite, hasn't he, to start this game and start the next few, as long as he doesn't get injured either. So I'm quite excited to see how he does, actually. Because I think midfield is, Brighton are strong in midfield as well. They play 3 at the back. They pack the midfield. And it's going to be a big key part of the game. So let's hope Sambi can step up and come in and do a job. Nigel says he's gone for 2-0 to Arsenal as well, as a couple of you guys have. So everybody's confident anyway, which is good. We've all predicted an Arsenal win, which, as I say, are traditionally difficult place for us. We've owned, last season was the first time we'd won there since 1981, I think it was. So in the league, we've won there in the FA Cup a few times. But yeah, it's a difficult ground. But I do think we should have too much for them. But yeah, I say it's not the ideal game to follow Spurs, maybe Brighton away. But anyway, it is what it is. And we just need to go there and perform, don't we? And play well. And if we do, like against anyone, we've got a hell of a chance of winning. Let's hope we can keep this momentum going. But yeah, it's going to be tough. And Graham Potter is definitely up there with the brightest young coaches. And look forward to seeing how his career develops as well, actually. And let's hope he ends up somewhere a bit better than Brighton. No disrespect to Brighton. Right, before we finish them, we have to do our usual weekly predictions, which are always fun. Right, before we do that, we need to catch up on the scores, actually. Last week we had to do it remotely because we didn't have a show. Let's make sure I've got the right ones. Oh, I have. Right, okay. So last week, actually, Melvyn didn't do so well, actually. He dropped down a little bit. He only got 3 points, Melvyn. Only 3 there. Didn't have a very good week at all. Adam did a little bit better. He got 4 points last week.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit better, yeah. And I actually did a bit better again. I actually got 7 points last week. So the scores now, Adam has got 32. And me and Melvyn have both got 37. So I've pulled it back. We're level now. And Dawsey, last time you did it, you actually got 5 points that week, which was second, actually. Melvyn got 6 that week. You got 5. So you did all right, actually, last time. Seeing as you wasn't prepared for it, you did pretty well, which was good. So we've got some interesting games this week, actually. I think there's quite a few big games and interesting ones as well. So the first game of the weekend is Manchester United at home to Everton. Obviously, Man United lost last week against Aston Villa, surprisingly. Everton has started well. What are you thinking, Melvyn? Man, you're going to bounce back, or can Everton keep their good run going?
1-0.
1-0, okay. Adam, what are you thinking for this one?
2-0 United. They always generally beat Everton, especially at home.
2-0 to United. Okay. Dawsey, what are you thinking, Man United, Everton?
I fancy United to bounce back as well. I'm going to say 2-0.
Okay, Dawsey's gone 2-0. And I've gone 2-1 to Man United. I kind of agree. I think they will bounce back. I think Everton are playing pretty well, but I think Man United will. I think Ronaldo's due a goal, isn't he? Since he didn't score one game, he's bound to get 2. So I think they'll win that 2-1. The next game is, I think it's the bottom 2, isn't it? Burnley at home to Norwich. 2 teams that have been struggling for wins, struggling for goals. What do you think, Melvyn? Burnley at home to Norwich?
Right, this might upset a few people. Burnley 1, Norwich 2.
Oh. Must admit, no teams ever. I don't think has any team ever lost their first 7 games in the Premier League. I don't think they have they? So Norwich.
That's what I've done it for. I don't know about that. I don't know about the record, but I'm just saying at some stage they got to win, Norwich, haven't they?
Yeah, you'd imagine they will. And obviously Burnley are one of the stronger teams. But at home, they're a difficult team to beat, Burnley. But anyway, Adam, what are you thinking? Burnley, Norwich.
From what I saw and read, Burnley picked up a bit against Leicester last week and were unlucky not to win. So I actually fancied them to win this year, and I think Norwich do look awful, to be fair. 2-0 Burnley.
2-0 to Burnley. Okay. Dawsey, what are you thinking? Burnley, Norwich.
Quite a tough one, this one, isn't it? Norwich haven't won all season, and Burnley haven't won a game at home for how long? Months, isn't it?
January.
January, yeah. Jesus. We go 1-0 Burnley, just because they're at home.
1-0 to Burnley. Okay, I've gone 2-0 to Burnley. I actually thought Burnley played quite well against us actually the other week. They were a bit unfortunate maybe not to get something out of that game. And I agree. I think Norwich are pretty poor. James in the chat there says, for fuck's sake, they have to win. Yeah, very good. They do indeed. And he said, I hope we don't get in trouble for reading that one out. No, we managed to get around that one okay. That was
ban him, Richard, ban him.
Yeah, he might need to be banned for that, but it was pretty cool to be fair. Right, the next game then is it looks like possibly a potential home win. Chelsea at home to Southampton, but Southampton did get a draw at Man City not that long ago when we all predicted a Man City win. So what are you thinking for this, Melvyn? Chelsea against Southampton?
I'm not having it. 3-0 Chelsea.
3-0 Chelsea. Okay, that seems a pretty predictable scoreline, I would say. Adam, what are you thinking?
I think Southampton are due a result, but it ain't going to come this week. But I'll get a goal. 3-1 Chelsea.
3-1 to Chelsea. Okay. Obviously, Southampton have had, is it 3 games in a row without scoring? So that'll end their little run. And of course, Chelsea did lose last week, so they're going to bounce back. Dawsey, what are you thinking? Chelsea, Southampton?
3-0 Chelsea.
3-0 Chelsea. Okay. It's basically a full house. I've gone 3-0 Chelsea as well. So it's just Adam with that little goal for Southampton's a difference there. So that might get him some extra points. Who knows if Southampton can somehow find a goal. The next game, actually, I think is a really interesting game. It could be a good game to watch, and it's difficult to predict, actually. Leeds at home to Watford. And Watford have been pretty good, actually, and Leeds haven't managed to win yet. So this could be an interesting game, this, Melvyn. What are you thinking, Leeds against Watford?
I'm going for the Norwich law. There's something called Norwich's law. When they don't win, I've gone for the Leeds to win the same way. Leeds 2, Watford 0. Same theory.
Leeds 2, Watford 0.
I've studied this a long time, Richard, that game, and that's what I've come up with.
No, well, that's it is a difficult one to call, this one, actually. Really difficult one to call. What are you thinking, Adam? Leeds, Watford?
Goals, I'm thinking. I'm thinking a draw, 2-2. I think both have got pretty leaky. Both can score.
Okay, 2-2 there. Dawsey, what about you for this one?
Yeah, I think it'd be a draw as well, but I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1, okay. And I've gone 2-1 to Leeds. I do think Leeds would be too good for Watford. Although Watford have been playing quite well, that Sarr's a decent player for them. I think he might get a goal, but I think Leeds will win 2-1. Another game, actually, that's again a difficult one to predict. Could go either way. I think Wolves at home to Newcastle. Newcastle haven't won yet. Wolves starting to maybe pick up results here and there. They did get a win last week. What are you thinking, Melvyn? Wolves at home to Newcastle.
I'm putting the Norwich theory out the window for this one. I'm going Wolves 2, Newcastle 1.
Okay, so Newcastle have to wait a bit longer for their Norwich then. Yeah. Okay. Adam, what are you thinking, Wolves, Newcastle?
Well, I was considering the Norwich theory as well, actually, on this one. But then I figured that I don't fancy Newcastle to win at all, actually, against anyone at the moment. So Wolves 1-0.
Wolves 1-0. Okay. And Dawsey, what are you thinking? Wolves, Newcastle?
I'm going for another draw in this one. 1-1 again.
1-1 again. Okay. I've actually gone 1-1 as well. I think Wolves slightly improving. I think Jimenez scoring last week would have helped him. He might get another goal. But Newcastle, they haven't won yet. They're not getting turned over, are they? The games are quite close. So I think a draw. I fancy a draw. They did draw there last season as well, I think. So I'm going 1-1. We've done our game already. Obviously, we've all predicted an Arsenal win, as we usually try and do. So it's Crystal Palace at home to Leicester. This is another interesting one, actually. Palace have been pretty good at home. Leicester are struggling a little bit. What are you thinking, Melvyn, on this one?
Yeah, I'm going Palace 0, Leicester 2. Ooh, I don't want it to be like that. It's head over heart. So I want Patrick to do well, but that's what I predict.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I mean, Leicester on their day can beat anybody, really. Adam, what are you thinking? Palace at home to Leicester?
Yeah, likewise, I really want Palace to do well, mainly because of Paddy, obviously. And I think they'll draw 1-1. I don't think Leicester are the same team this year so far.
No, they haven't been, have they? They've been very hit and miss. Very hit and miss.
They're not the same team since we bought Maddison from them.
Exactly, yeah. So we didn't buy Vardy from them as well. Dawsey, what are you thinking? Palace against Leicester?
Going to go against the grain with this one. Actually, I've been quite quietly impressed with what Paddy's done quite quickly, actually. They look relatively solid. Obviously, the result against Spurs was maybe a bit of an anomaly, but they played very well in that game. I'm actually going to go 2-1 Palace.
2-1 Palace. Okay. I've actually gone 2-0 to Palace. I think Leicester are very up and down. I think Palace at home, they were unfortunate not to win last night against Brighton, actually. Last second equaliser, wasn't it, from Mopay? So I think they might have too much for Leicester. I'm quite impressed with what Patrick's doing over there. So I'm going 2-0 Palace in that one. Now, here's a game which I know we're all going to predict an away win for. Tottenham at home to Aston Villa. Melvyn, how many are Aston Villa going to win by?
Can I go double? I can't just go double figures. No, I'm going for a. Actually, I'm going for a draw, 1-1.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay. 1-1. Okay. Obviously Villa did win at Man United last week. I'm sure Tottenham won't pose them too many problems. Adam, what are you thinking?
Remember that with Villa. Not every day is Christmas.
No, you're right. That's very true. What do you think, Adam? Tottenham Villa?
I want and I think Villa will win, and I'm going to go for 2-1 Villa.
2-1 Villa. Okay.
Oh, that'd be funny. Won't that be funny?
It'd be lovely.
It would be very funny. Dawsey, are you going for a Villa win as well, or are you a bit more confident in Spurs?
I am, and it's not. I take my Arsenal hat off for a minute. I genuinely think Spurs will struggle. They're struggling for goals. Kane doesn't look interested whatsoever. And Aston Villa, they've picked up from where they left off last season. They look a pretty strong side again. So I don't think it'll be comprehensive, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 Villa win.
1-0 Villa win. Okay, that's good. And I've gone for a 2-1 Villa win, actually, because I agree with you. I think Tottenham have got problems. Nuno doesn't seem to be able to get them playing for whatever reason. And they were obviously dreadful against us. They've not been playing well. They've conceded 3 goals in their last 3 league games, actually. So I won't be surprised if it ended 3-1. But I'm going to go 2-1 just because I feel a little bit sorry for them because they've had a tough week. So let's go for 2-1 instead. The next game actually is a really interesting game. I think this could be the most entertaining game of the weekend, actually. West Ham against Brentford. London derby, 2 teams play good football, score goals. This game could be a really good watch, actually. What are you thinking, Melvyn?
I agree. 2-2.
You're going for 2-2. Okay, that seems a reasonable score. Adam, what are you thinking for this one? Looks like a good game.
Yeah, I quite like watching both of these teams, really. They both are pretty attacking. They're both very direct. But I think West Ham will win 2-0, actually. I think they're looking pretty good again this season.
Well, no, they are. Yeah, they're playing pretty well. 2-0 to West Ham. Dawsey, what are you thinking, West Ham, Brentford?
Yeah, you can't help be impressed with what Brentford have done, can you? Since they've come up, they've looked a really good side. I do think West Ham might have a little bit too much for them, and I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham.
2-1 to West Ham. Okay. Nigel in the chat there, he said, I find myself following Brentford scores after what they did to us on the opening day. I'm predicting 3-0 battering away at West Ham. Okay, well, I'm not quite sure about that. I've gone 2-2 in that one. I think there will be goals. I agree with Melvyn. I think there will be goals. Both teams have, it's going to be an open game, and I'm quite looking forward to that one, actually. I think it could be a good game, that, and I think it's going to be 2-2. And, of course, the final game of the weekend is probably the big game, one of the big games of the season, isn't it? The top 2 for the last few seasons. Liverpool at home to Manchester City. Usually an interesting game quite often. What are you thinking, Melvyn? Liverpool, Man City?
Liverpool 1, Man City 2. Official.
Wow. Okay. Very good. I mean, Liverpool, obviously Man City, rather, they won away at Chelsea last week. A win at Liverpool as well would make them probably massive favourites to win the league, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If they do that. What are you thinking, Adam? Liverpool, Man City?
I'm hoping that Liverpool will lose because they're the only team who haven't lost this season so far in the Premier League. And I think City will do another 1-0. 1-0 City, another tight game like it was against Chelsea.
Okay, that's fair enough. What are you thinking, Dawsey? Liverpool, Man City?
I think Liverpool got too many goals in them. I don't see them, as much as Man City are good at the back, I fancy Liverpool to win this. 2-1.
Liverpool 2-1. Okay. I think Anfield makes a difference, doesn't it? A packed Anfield in these sort of games, a big game, that gives them advantage. I've actually gone 1-1. I think Man City won't lose, but I think Liverpool won't lose either. I just think it's going to be that sort of game. I think it'll be very cagey. And yeah, I think it'll be a draw. So I'm going 1-1 on that one. And that's it. Some good games there, actually. Some interesting, difficult games to predict. A few really close games, or certainly looking close on paper anyway. Most of them, actually. We haven't really gone for any big wins apart from Chelsea against Southampton. And last time we did that to Southampton, they drew 0-0 at Man City when we all thought they'd lose about 5-0. So who knows? Maybe that'll be the game that surprises us all. But I can't see Chelsea losing at home again. Shane in the chat there says Messi scored 2 for PS. I guess that's against Man City, isn't it?
Yeah, 1-2 by look at it.
Did they? That's a shame, isn't it? That is a shame. Poor old Man City.
I thought that was on.
And Nigel says there, the Arsenal women, of course, are playing Spurs tomorrow in the FA Cup. Indeed, they are. I'll be doing a watch-along of that game on the channel. Looking forward to that, actually. Arsenal women against Tottenham. That will be a good game. Yeah, I think we'll sort of hammer them, really. Maybe 3 or 4-0.
What time's that on, Richard?
7:15 kickoff it is. 7:15.
Right.
It's on BBC 4, I think it might be.
All right.
Is it?
Good.
I think it might be on BBC. It's on telly anyway. I mean, I'm gonna do a watch along anyway. But yeah, that's going to be a good game. We've got obviously we always tend to beat Tottenham quite easily, but we're the only 2 teams in the WSL that have won all 3 opening league games. So we're top and they're second on goal difference. So potentially it could be a good game, but I do think we'll beat them because we are just playing really well, and we're obviously Arsenal and they're Tottenham. So there you go. But yeah, that will be a good game tomorrow. So yeah, try and catch that on the telly. I think it's on BBC 4, but just double check because it's definitely on telly somewhere. So yeah, that'll be a good game now. But I am doing a watch along. So if you do enjoy the Arsenal women, join me for that. I'll be probably starting about 7 o'clock-ish with the team news, all that kind of stuff, and build up to that game tomorrow. So that'll be good. So that's that then tonight. Fantastic show again, as always. It's always a pleasure chatting to you guys. Yeah, nice positive vibes coming from everybody, I think, today, because it's been a good week for Arsenal. The Arsenal women top of the WSL, beat Man City 5-0 on Sunday, and of course we won the North London derby. We should have maybe won that 5-0 as well, but we went a bit easy on them in the second half, didn't we? Which was a shame, but we won the game, which is the most important thing. Melvyn, thank you very much again for being part of the show. Always a pleasure. Where can everybody find you if they indeed want to?
If they want to, which they probably don't, it's Melvyn, and the only way is Arsenal Marks on Twitter. That's all it is. I'm on this channel. Thank you very much, Richard, for having me on. Really do enjoy the clinic. I feel better every time. Love it to see you again, Dawsey and Adam. Terrific. And look forward to next week.
Indeed.
Yes, hopefully next week will be another positive, some more positive vibes next week as well after another good win on Saturday. Adam as well, thank you very much for coming back on again. Always a pleasure. Where can people find you on social media, if indeed, again, if they want to? I'm sure they do.
You can find me on Twitter at Adam792001, Adam Always Arsenal, and pretty much here every Tuesday.
Yeah, indeed. Fantastic. Great to have you again. And of course, Dawsey as well. Good to get you back on a bit more regular again. Always a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for coming on again. Where can people find you as well?
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I'm trying to be a bit more consistent with it. Trying to be a bit more of a regular again. But really enjoyed the show tonight. Nice and positive. Always nice to speak to you boys anyway. But yeah, head over to my Twitter. It's Dawsey2801. And then yeah, hopefully I should be fine for next Tuesday. So I'll speak to you boys next Tuesday.
Yeah, great. Hopefully we will. That sounds good. Shane in the chat there says, great stream again. Thanks. The clinic is fantastic. Thank you for watching, Shane. Always appreciate you being in. And Nigel as well says, great work, everyone. Oh, thanks for tuning in, Nigel. It's good to see you again. And I say, I'm sure you'll be in tomorrow for the women's game as well. And that will be a good show. So yeah, there's lots coming up on the channel actually over the next few days. I'm doing the women's game tomorrow. That'll be about 7 o'clock. I'll go live for that one. Then on Friday, it's the women's show, looking back on the Tottenham game, looking ahead to a game against Aston Villa on Saturday. Actually being played the same time as Arsenal against Brighton, which is interesting. I'll be doing the double watch along Saturday, watching both games at the same time, trying to watch them both.
Telescopes.
Yeah, I'm going to have 3 screens going and watching all the games. It's going to be quite fun. So I'm going to try and keep up with both games on Saturday as well. So double watch along on Saturday for the men and the women. So that's going to be good as well. And then, of course, we'll then be... It's international break, isn't it, next week? Is that right?
Yeah.
It's international break, isn't there? There is WSL games next weekend as well. So we'll be doing some stuff on that as well. But yeah, loads of stuff coming up. And, of course, next Tuesday we'll be back with the Tuesday clinic where we can cleanse our soul of all the stress. Well, there hasn't been much stress this week, as I say, which is nice to see. Let's hope that continues for a bit longer because it feels nice, doesn't it, to, be nice and relaxed and be happy and look forward to a game again, which, it hasn't always been the case, has it, in recent times, where we can look forward to a game and not feel so stressed about it and feel that we actually might might play well, which is of course what we all want. So yeah, brilliant. Well, I say thanks to you guys for watching in the chat as well. Loads of people in the chat tonight. It's always like Nigel, of course, Shane, James as well. Good to see James in the chat as well. Make sure you look after Melvyn at the games in future as well. Don't let him get in any trouble, because we need him fit and healthy for the show. Gary as well was in before, DWCT. Make sure you check his channel out. Joe Russ as well was in earlier. So thanks to all you guys for watching. Thanks to obviously Melvyn, Adam and Dawsey as always. And I will see you tomorrow, hopefully, for the women's watch along. That'll be a good game. Arsenal, another North London derby, actually, 2 in 1 week. That's unusual, isn't it? Quite a bit of stress there, but I'm sure we'll cope, especially if we win again, which is of course what we all want. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. And in the meantime, of course, as always, come on, you Gunners, come on. Thanks, guys. Speak to you tomorrow.
See ya.
See you later.
Yeah.